What's up gamers, lecture here of the brand new Meteor Sorcerer build guide in Diablo 4. This Pure Meteor Sorcerer build doesn't mess around with other damaging skills like my previous hybrid setups, and it's the most visually spectacular sorcerer build I've seen, blasting the entire screen with meteor showers. The Meteor Sorcerer has the highest damage numbers possible within the class, with a single meteor capable of hitting for 2 to 3 million damage, which compared to other classes isn't that impressive. But hey, it's Sorcerer good. Blizzard, please buff Sorcerer. Individual meteors hit hard, and Meteor Enchantment keeps the destruction raining down almost endlessly, especially when stacking some additional lucky hit chance in the build. Also, Added Glyph provides fatter dumps, increasing the chance that meteors land on their targets. The Meteor Sorcerer even excels during boss fights, something that most Sorcerer builds tend to struggle with. Now, even though the Meteor Sorcerer build has some impressive firepower, there are some weaknesses to consider before getting started, so be sure to keep watching. I'm trying something a bit different with this build guide video, just covering the entire build setup by going over every skill point allocated, all the Paragon nodes, and each individual piece of gear for 20 minutes is boring. Anyone can easily copy a build setup, so that's why all my builds have a written guide on Icy Veins. You can just copy the entire character setup from there if you want to blindly follow a build. Now, what I can do in this video is something you might find more informative, and that is explain the build's key features, like the game mechanics, the playstyle, and how it compares to other sorcerer builds. My goal here is for you to hopefully learn something, because knowledge is power.
You came to the darkness for knowledge.
Yes.
And all the knowledge you seek is here.
Before the Starfall Coronet was added in Season 3's patch 1.3.0, there really wasn't a viable meteor build, as meteors didn't make enough of an impact to be worth waiting for its falling delay, and almost every other damaging skill could deal more damage per second. Due to the long charge cooldown, Starfall Coronet seems like it was designed to be used in hybrid builds, with meteors supplementing other damaging skills, like I did with Chain Lightning and then Charge Bolts. Turns out a pure meteor build is viable if you obtain full cooldown reduction gear, along with the Starfall Coronet road with the lowest possible charge cooldown of 6 seconds. Both unique rings, Tal Rasha's Iridescent Loop and X-Far's Corroded Signet, have cooldown reduction affixes that aren't normally available through legendary rings. These are some strict requirements that are necessary for the build to even feel smooth enough to play, so make sure you're well prepared. To further reduce meteor cooldown, Summoned Ice Blades is allocated. 20% of Enhanced Ice Blades effect means all active cooldowns are reduced by 0.1 seconds each time Ice Blades hits a vulnerable enemy. It's not much, but Ice Blades enchantment is also utilized for additional spawns to try keeping 2 to 3 Ice Blades active at once. Even with all this cooldown tech, you're still going to be waiting for meteor charges. With 43% cooldown reduction, my meteor charge time is 3.4 seconds, which means in order to reduce charge time to 1 second, Ice Blade would need to hit 24 times in a second, and that is insanely difficult to get even close to achieving. A high Ice Blades count is also impossible to maintain once all your cooldowns are blown. Speaking of blowing cooldowns, let's cover the playstyle for the Meteor Sorcerer. In order to reduce meteor cooldown, additional Ice Blades are spawned with its enchantment, which means you need to spam all your other skill cooldowns. This is a vastly different playstyle compared to the typical sorcerer build that utilizes multiple defensive skills reactively to survive. Activate Flame Shield and Ice Armor even when there isn't any incoming damage. Cast Frost Nova to freeze nothing. You might as well roll your face on the keyboard to play this build. I actually find myself staring at the skill bar way too often to track skills coming off cooldown, just so that they could be used immediately without thought. Be aware that having all your defensive cooldowns blown has some consequences. Remember the gameplay footage at the beginning of this video? Well, I'll let you in on a little secret. It was cherry-picked footage to make the build look flawless. In reality, Oftentimes I would spam all my cooldown skills, only to die moments later without any defenses. Unfortunately, Ice Blades doesn't hit enemies as often when you kill everything quickly and spend time traveling between packs. My Meteor Stomp Charge Bolts build has a much easier time clearing Nightmare dungeons, and defensive cooldowns can be used reactively to survive. Another key difference with the Meteor Sorcerer build is the critical strike chance. While most of my other Sorcerer builds utilize an Elementalist aspect to easily cap crit chance, this aspect doesn't work with the additional meteors from Starfall Coronet or procs from Meteor Enchantment. Therefore, other sources of crit chance are obtained, like Searing Heat in Paragon and SU's Heirloom. Make sure you evade to activate more crit chance from the unique boots before casting meteors for maximum DPS. A high crit chance is especially important for the Amulet of Free Curses, as it provides a 1.6 times multiplier on meteor crits, doubled to a fat 2.2 times multiplier against healthy enemies. I've noticed many players don't realize that a multiplier on critical strike damage is the same as a separate multiplier applied to all your damage whenever you crit. I believe this is the associative property of multiplication. Pay attention in math class, kids. The downside to equipping SU's Heirloom is the lack of the implicit effect attacks reduce evades cooldown. I prefer the telestomp playstyle for almost all my sorcerer builds, which utilizes Raiment of the Infinite, teleport enchantment, and evade cooldown boots. Telestomp vortexes groups of enemies to make them easier to AoE, stuns them to keep you safe, and allows you to zoom through maps for speed farming. Don't get me wrong, even though there are some cons to the Meteor Sorcerer, it's still a great build with high damage output, especially against bosses where Ice Blades can sit on them and continue attacking rapidly to reduce cooldowns. The Meteor Sorcerer build is impressive with the sheer number of falling meteors, each capable of individual damage hits in the millions. I just wanted to be clear about the build's issues so I'm not debating anyone. In fact, you should always be skeptical of any builds you find from other content creators, especially if they only talk about the strengths and never mention any weaknesses. Anyways, if you're interested in the Meteor Sorcerer, you can find the full build details in my written guides on Icy Veins, complete with skill points, Paragon setup, and best in slot gear. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for future Diablo 4 content, and feel free to join the discussion on our Discord server, or stop by the live stream to hang out. Until next time, peace out and happy slaying.